Evening. This is July 22nd. This is an extra meeting of the Water Resources Committee. I'm Les Fox, Chair, and I'm going to do a roll call here so we can establish whether we have a quorum or not. So I call out your name, shout out. Brian Lynch.
Present.
Brian Clemens.
Present.
Steve Schmidt.
Present.
Janet Connolly.
Present.
And Fox is present. So noting we have a quorum, I will call us to order at 7:26. So we have a one agenda item meeting tonight, and that is to
7:36. Les.
Pardon?
7:36.
Did I say 26?
It's
Yeah,
26.
You're right.
36.
This thing says 36, and I said 26. Maybe I need new glasses too. There's John. John must have dropped and then come back in. He must have dropped and then come back, John.
We don't have Cindy Markowitz either.
She's not actually been appointed or sworn in yet, so she may or may not come. Public meeting.
Okay.
Oh, no, you were here just a minute ago, right? And then it dropped? John, are you on mute? Maybe he's having connection problems. Well, John, hopefully you'll get it sorted out. So anyway, why don't we just go going? It's a one agenda meeting, and that's to kind of finish, hopefully, what we started last meeting, which was to see if this committee was able to develop input to the planning board's deliberations for addressing the use table for governmental purposes. So, as you know, the use table has education, religious, and governmental uses as one of the use categories. And that's been, as far as I know, it's been there that way for a long, long time. And it was noticed at some point in the recent past that although there are definitions for the religious and educational uses, there is no corresponding similarly formatted definition for governmental use. So I think that is the source of the rub why the planning board is addressing this, and that was why there was an attempt at the May town meeting to try to fix that. So they're still on that path, still trying to address that, and I think I know they're having a meeting on August 4th, another hearing to address this. And so our purpose here tonight is to see if we can provide our collective input from this committee to the planning board for their consideration as they address this issue. So I want to start off by saying Brian Clemens and Janet put some things together for your consideration, and I had very little to do with that, so I don't claim any credit for it. But so why don't I turn this over to Brian to introduce a proposed language that we would, if we agree on it, submit to the planning board. Now, is everyone familiar with the part of the zoning bylaw that I just mentioned, the use table and the definition section? I'm going right off of the most current version, which is up on the town website. Okay.
Les, before we go to Brian, I just want to correct that I did not provide language that appeared in your letter, or did I amend the language that Brian has produced? So whatever he's about to say is his thoughts, but I did not change those.
Oh,
I might do so during this call. We might have a conversation. We may end up with slightly different language, but I just want to be really clear about that what's now about to be presented was not something that I contributed to.
Oh, okay. Well, since I had asked you two to go off and provide.
Yeah, there was some email exchange, but the language on the page of the document that you sent out for people to look at, or Brian sent out, I did not author that.
Okay, well, I didn't know exactly what had transpired between you two, so.
Yeah, so I'm just clarifying. That's all. No biggie. Yeah, just want to be clear. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Brian, why don't I make you a co-host so you can share a screen?
Okay, I sent this document around earlier. Cindy seemed to think that might be a violation of open meeting law.
I asked the town clerk about that. She's not so sure. She will look into it.
Okay, so am I co-host now? I can share?
Yes.
All right, so let me I am not seeing that screen to share. Hold on. Now I can't get back to the Zoom meeting. I've lost the icon.
I can still see you.
We can see you, Brian.
But I can't get back. I can't. Guys, I have a new computer. And let me tell you, it has not gone smoothly.
That's why I'm not getting a new one until I absolutely have to.
I'm
No,
prepared to pay Microsoft money to not have to get a new one.
What'd you get, Brian?
a Lenovo or whatever.
Right.
Oh, Lenvino. Yeah, they're a good machine.
Well, what I didn't do is I didn't get the same keyboard that I had the last time, and it's caused me a lot of problems. And the new Outlook is very, very strange.
Are you using Outlook as part of Office 365 or some other Outlook variant?
No, it's part of 365. Like I said, I cannot find the my Zoom icon. I can't
That's
get
probably
back.
in the apps. This is like an Apple now. You got to go look for the apps.
You could search for it, just on the search bar, put in Zoom and see what comes up.
Brian, if you already had the window open that with the document already open, sometimes you can use Alt Tab and that'll allow you to tab through whatever is open on your desktop. So maybe that'll something you could try. Assuming this document was already open before you went on the Zoom call.
That took me to the agenda for the meeting.
Okay, so keep tabbing until you get to an open window that has, if this is in Word maybe.
Right.
It's just alternating back and forth between the Word document. I still don't see the Zoom icon.
Oh, to share
Well-
in Zoom, you mean?
Oh, wait a minute. There
Well,
it is.
you're in Zoom, Brian. If we're seeing you,
Yeah, I know, but I couldn't get back to the screen so I could hit share to be able to.
Isn't there a bunch of stuff on the bottom that with a share button and raise hand and all that stuff?
I couldn't get back to that. Now I'm doing the share and I don't see the document as an option.
okay, so Brian, on the bottom on Zoom, there's something also that says Docs. If you see that, maybe it's over there.
There you go. You're sharing now, Brian.
Are you seeing the
Well-
comment?
No.
Well,
We're seeing Zoom.
Zoom.
we're seeing the Zoom splash screen.
There we go. We can
Yeah,
see.
open
We
that,
can see,
open
there
that
you
one
go.
right there. Yeah.
How about that? Can you see this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now we can. Now you just need to make it
See the
bigger.
Word document that says draft store plan.
Yep.
How is that?
It's
I can
good.
read it.
That's readable.
Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we can.
Okay. I can go bigger if you want.
Well, I can see
Okay,
down
so
to
this
the
is,
end of the second
setup.
paragraph, and then
That's correct. So this is set up as being something coming from Les as the chair to the planning board. And so what I've said is the Water Resources Committee recommends that government uses be allowed by right in all zoning districts. Water and wastewater infrastructure in particular is essential to public health and safety. We understand that governmental use is included in the use schedule, but is not well defined. Maybe that should say in the zoning bylaw. I've taken the approach that I don't want to recommend specific language for the planning board. I'd rather try to tell them what we want to accomplish and let them work out the language. So I'm suggesting government should be defined to include local, municipal, regional, municipal, state, and federal governments. Examples include the town of Boxborough, our regional school district, Littleton Electric Light Department, and Littleton Water Department. Uses should be defined to include buildings and other infrastructure such as water mains, pump stations, treatment plants, generators, and power lines. Definitions should cover facilities owned or operated by the town or located on land within the town and owned or operated by others as a municipal utility serving Boxborough for the benefit of Boxborough residents.
Yeah, it should also mention the Acton Water District.
Okay.
They service
Another
the
example.
Joyce Industrial Park.
So that would be so that getting into the reasons for this. Many towns in Massachusetts allow government uses by right in all zoning districts. Municipal projects receive sufficient review and special permits or other such approvals are unnecessary. Generally, municipal projects must be approved by town meeting. They are also subject to site plan review where applicable. These approvals provide sufficient opportunity for public input. Thank you for your consideration, Les Fox, Chair. One of the suggestions I heard was that the planning board was considering making some of these uses by special permit. And that's what this paragraph is sort of trying to say. We don't think it's necessary to have a special permit for these municipal uses because they
There
receive.
should be no special permits in municipal use.
Okay. My concern is that what's written in the first paragraph was basically something that was defeated at last town meeting. The idea that something
I
can be
think the
done.
town meeting, I would like to suggest
The
at
idea
some
that
point
something can be done just hang on, okay? The idea that something can be allowed by right in all zoning districts is one of the reasons the zoning article was defeated, okay? Because people are very concerned about that, okay? And if you do this again, you may get this defeated again.
John,
Okay.
I think the real problem we have is that there are many things that people don't realize that if they put it in there, we're going to have trouble building roads, repairing bridges, repairing culverts, repairing anything that be considered a structure, which is defined by state building code.
But the roads are right of ways. Those are public right of ways. We have the ability to do whatever we need to do for public safety.
Unless we have to take
the
property to expand the situation.
Okay.
But we also have roads that are owned by the state.
Right.
I'm not-
But I think the big thing
We have
is,
roads that are what?
That are owned by the state.
yeah, that's a different story.
That's a different story. We don't have the right to do things there. We
I
have
think-
to ask for permission. If we do anything on 111, which is a state road, we have to ask for permission.
So we don't have to go through zoning approval.
That's why the water line is not done. Okay? Because we're waiting for the state to do that.
But again, right now, we're in a situation where we put the water line in, and according to what they've said, oh, we don't have the right to do that. And I'm a little against that. I think that's a misreading by the attorneys of the zoning bylaw.
Well, all I
said
know on that particular topic is that Littleton Water Department is pursuing that, and my understanding is they think that they may be about to do that within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
So the water lines are in all the public roads.
I mean, the connection between Swanson and Codman.
Yeah,
Right,
that's the
yeah, so
problem.
that's the state, that'll be done.
That's the state piece.
Yeah.
So that's the coordination that's being
But Brian, we
managed
have the
by.
right to be able to, I don't know what the one of the issues with where the water line is.
Mass DOT is actually
and-
doing that piece of the work.
You missed the point.
Right, so Mass
We've
DOT
already
is doing
installed
that
water
because
line
it's a
in
state
public roads
road.
in Boxborough that we supposedly didn't have the right to do.
Yeah. Mass DOT is doing the piece that goes under Mass Avenue.
Yes, I understand that. What about Swanson Road and Codman Hill?
That's all done.
Understand, but what did we do?
What did we do? What do you mean?
We
Well, who's
installed
saying
the
that
structure.
we don't have the, who's saying we don't have the right to do that?
Well, the zoning says that we don't have the right to install municipal anything, any structures.
No, that was a
No, no.
misunderstanding.
But
That
not in
was
the
a
right of way.
misunderstanding
Way,
of what
not
our
in the right
zoning
of way.
bylaw actually says. We do have the right to have roads and bridges, and the town can do what they need to do to operate the town. So that was a misunderstanding and a misreading that came up during town meeting that some people glommed onto. But what
Yeah.
I've heard from the planning board, multiple planning board members, and listening to the planning board meeting, that's not actually true. There's, except for the
It's never been
landfill,
true.
except for the landfill, all of the other properties, the school, fire station, library, they were all built within the rules. They're allowable structures. So that's not a thing. And that's not something we need to fix, right? Like this letter doesn't need to fix that. So I wanted to hopefully set that aside as a concern. If the entire purpose of this letter is to get definitions into the zoning bylaw, okay, why do we need a government definition? Oh, sorry. I gotta have to.
Home Depot for $2 more, it does get some winter discount. But a whole $109 you get solar water.
Well, the current bylaw does say that it's allowed in all districts, along with educational and religious.
Right. So the bylaw says that if there is not a definition, a dictionary definition is adequate. So otherwise, you'd have a bylaw that had Merriam-Webster dictionary attached to it. So you don't need to define basic words that are already defined.
I agree with you, Jenna, but that's not how it was played to get the town meeting, because people had another agenda.
Right, but within the confines of what we're trying to do here, what we're saying in the first paragraph is, we need to define this. And it's like, so my first question is, do we? Do we need to define government?
Well, I don't know that we need to define it, but we're just saying.
Well, we are, though. The next
That's right.
paragraph goes into a lot of detail about what we mean by government. Government should include the following. So, and then we'll go on to talk about uses. So the first question not the first question, I have a preamble to this question, but the first question is, do we feel that it's the Water Resources Committee's obligation to define government to support the planning board?
I'm not suggesting that we define government. I'm saying it should be defined to include these things.
Right, it says government should be defined. So to include but not be limited to? I mean,
Sure, other boards may have other things that they think ought to be in there. These are the things that we feel strongly about.
but government already includes municipal, state, and federal government. I mean, the term government already includes that. So I don't know how we're adding
Not
to,
zoning bylaw, it doesn't.
because you don't have to define things that already have a dictionary definition.
There
But
is a
Janet,
definition of governmental use in the
the lack of
zoning
a
bylaw.
definition for governmental use was what caused the planning board to go to town meeting to try to fix it, which
Well,
caused
it
a huge
doesn't say
upset.
governmental use, this says government. So if you are trying to define governmental uses, then you need to say governmental uses should be defined to include.
That's fine, okay.
Okay, and that would be consistent with the zoning bylaw. The way I read the governmental use definition in the bylaw right now, it's lumped together with educational and religious. So I take that definition to mean that the only governmental use allowed by the current zoning bylaw are our public schools.
But that, see, I think that has its own allowance under the educational clause. That's my opinion. Education, religious, and governmental uses are the three cases in the use table. And the people who were anxious to defeat the fire station pointed out that there was no definition for governmental use. And they got some counsel to agree with them that that was serious enough that the bylaw needed to be fixed.
I would say that we should have a second opinion of council.
Well, I think they've had multiple opinions on that. I mean, the planning board has already exercised that, which is why they ended up coming to town meeting.
Well, Brian's brought up the idea of attorneys. In general, just overall, my read of this letter is I feel that we are making statements without the benefit of legal advice. That some of the statements here and suggestions, and I don't follow all of them, and we could get into it a little bit, but we're not lawyers. And I don't know if this is even defensible. And I think we're a little bit out over our skis on some of the language here because we don't have legal review or support on this.
Well, our job is not necessarily to produce a legally competent document. We're just giving input to the planning board. They would have to take care of that piece of the action. I think our job here is to, what is our interest and intent? Well, we would like, my opinion, we would like the zoning bylaw to allow the development of water resources for municipal uses anywhere in town. Is that considered a governmental use?
Well, so here's the concern with that is that while maybe there's some unintended consequences of non-water related infrastructure being placed anywhere in town, because we're recommending that governmental uses be allowed by right in all zoning districts. So the unintended consequences of that could be much more devastating than sort of having to, than what was anticipated. I get that we're focused on water, but that's not what the first sentence says. The first sentence said, and then when we say governmental uses, we just talk about government agencies. We don't talk, when we talk about uses, we identify the infrastructure, et cetera, but it's unclear to me like why the regional school district is in that sentence. It's right as a example of a governmental use, like
it's in
the regional school district governmental use, and why do we have to include them in this definition? Like I'm not sure I understand all the things that are in here. Like it's not self-evident.
John, you have a comment?
I think what we're trying to do is, I think we're making this too complicated. Because I think what we're trying to say is we want to make sure that the planning board, when they do create the zoning bylaw, takes into account the need of the water resource community, but it's really the water and wastewater, the needs of water infrastructure. Okay, the infrastructure, and I think it gets that the ability for wastewater or water infrastructure to be placed where needed needed in town. Okay. And I think the sentence here where you start to talk about uses should include, okay, not be defined, but should include, okay, just what you have right there, okay? And then the definition should cover facilities owned or operated by the town or located on town land within the town or operated by others as a municipal utility serving Boxborough for the benefit of Boxborough residents. I think that's about it, because this is very similar to when we were looking at a bylaw for allowing 5G to take place, okay? And 5G, the state required that we allow that, okay? And that can be allowed on town property where certain devices can be placed. It can also be allowed within the right of way on any street or road in a town, and it's being serviced by a municipal utility. Currently, that utility is a Verizon and Comcast that are able to do that. Okay, but that's the, to me, that's the crux of what we want to make sure that the zoning bylaw includes. I'm very concerned though about the first piece if we say that it has to be allowed in every zoning district. I mean, that's the part that really concerned a lot of people, okay? And it wasn't related to the fire station. It was the fact that the zoning article said that things could go anywhere. And it was a rushed article, and everybody involved in it will admit that it was a rushed article. Okay, there's lots of easier ways to be able to get done what they wanted to get done, but I went to the planning board meeting and I made a recommendation, and the planning board said this was not our article, so they did not feel comfortable making the changes necessary because it was a select board article. And we all know select board don't usually do a great job of writing zoning. So I think that the second part of that second paragraph from uses down is really the meat of what we want the planning board to make sure can take place in this town.
Commenting on your comment on the 5G, John, the zoning bylaw allows public utilities, but it does require Board of Appeals approval in some districts for that.
That's right. I put together the bylaw, the basics of the bylaw for us for 5G. Because it was different than what normally they could have, because the devices are so small.
Let me,
You don't even know that they're there, but they're there now.
can I make a suggestion here? See if it will help.
Sure.
What if we tried something like the following? The Water Resources Committee recommends that water infrastructure uses be allowed by right in all zoning districts. Water infrastructure uses includes, well, you can say, yeah, these are essential for public health benefits, yada, yada. And then just say, and to get rid of governmental, say water infrastructure uses should be defined to include what he has there. Don't even have the word governmental appear.
That could work.
Les, I think that would work.
What we want is to get the water everywhere. We don't care what you call
it. That's right. And I think that would do it.
Let the planning board figure out what they want to call that. Is that a government use?
Say that again, Les.
Just say the Water Resources Committee recommends that water infrastructure uses be allowed by right in all zoning districts.
Water, say again?
Water infrastructure uses.
Are we including wastewater in that?
It'd be also drainage.
Second sentence is water and wastewater infrastructure in particular is essential for public health and safety.
Should also say drainage too.
Or stormwater.
Yes.
Just leave it at water. If you then you're going then it's going to be drainage. Is it going to be this? Is going to be it's all water.
Is drainage already
The more
covered?
you put in, the more people
We're
are
allowed
going to
to
pick
do
at
on
it.
roadway rights of way?
The
It's
more
not
you
just
put, the more
roads.
you put in, the more you put in, the more people are going to pick at it.
Any
Keep
water
it simple.
related infrastructure.
Okay, but the next
Yeah,
sentence
exactly.
says water and wastewater.
Well, we're
Put the
handling
word any in there.
putting in wastewater and drainage in the town okay under current operation or current rules. So we need to complicate it by bringing that in at this point.
Just say any water or wastewater infrastructure. That covers everything.
Yeah, I mean, technically, I guess runoff and sewer drainage is wastewater of a type, but
I mean, you know, I think that way, I mean, if you're talking about any in terms of water, I mean, if at some point the town would need to put a weir on one of the brooks in order to protect something, you have the ability to do it. Okay.
yeah.
The
Brian, why don't you
wastewater piece.
maybe Brian, could you just edit the document real time so we can see how it looks?
I'm beginning to do that.
I think we could have a real problem with including wastewater in res districts. People might balk at that.
That would be a
Well,
problem.
we already have wastewater flow across properties in town.
Yeah, people do not, right. So humans do not recognize that the
So-
septic system in their backyard is a wastewater infrastructure, right? They just think, oh, that's my septic system, right?
No,
and there's,
I think,
but
Janet,
in their mind,
what Brian's talking about is that the septic system that is in your front yard is your neighbor's.
yes,
Yeah.
I get that. What the problem is, this is a municipally operated wastewater infrastructure in the
We
ag
actually
res
have some of
district.
that in town too. We have the library, the other stuff is all cross connected on other properties.
Do we need to
There is-
say town-owned water infrastructure uses?
Yeah, because we already have a common wastewater treatment plant for a bunch of facilities already.
We're not talking about interfering with the rules that we operate under to drill private wells.
So since these wastewater treatment plants are
Well,
already
it's
in
worth
place,
noting,
well,
anybody.
let me ask you a
developing
question.
One at a time, please.
Since there already are wastewater treatment plants in town, there was already a process that allowed that to occur that doesn't require rezoning or change in the zoning bylaw to allow it to occur in the future. So what fix are we offering for a problem that doesn't exist?
I'm not sure what those plants are, but the one I do know of, like for example, the plant at Bucksboro Meadow, that's under a comprehensive permit.
Mm-hmm. That's an example. So they were able to do that from a state permit, right?
Comprehensive permit trumps everything.
Yep.
Local Board of Health.
Yep.
Right. So why do we need to make a recommendation for something that's already allowed?
Well, thing is, what they're saying is because of the zoning change that occurred, what was allowed in the past is no longer allowed now. And I think that's the crux of this issue that says we want to go back to what we had before and not have to go through hoops to do it.
I think there's a distinction here between municipal and private, because if somebody develops their property, zoning says nothing about whether they can create a public water system or install a packaged wastewater treatment plant. They are allowed to do that under zoning because zoning is silent on that.
But if you go for a comprehensive permit, all those rules go out the window.
Or if we own the plant at the school, which services a whole bunch of municipal buildings.
Well, that's where are people making a distinction between what a private landowner is allowed to do versus what the town is allowed to do.
Well, I'm just pointing out that I thought we had this situation because the town wasn't allowed to do certain things.
Are
So
you
we really are
talking about a
focusing on-
wastewater treatment?
Well, it's any, I mean, a wastewater treatment plant. I mean, I don't know if we can do that now. It was done under the rules at the time. I don't know. If it's
Well,
done.
I don't. What are the example of wastewater treatment plants that we know of?
Well, we got the one at the school, which services the library and the school. We've got the stuff on the other side of the road, which is the.
Is that a wastewater treatment
comprehensive
plant,
permit.
or is that just a large septic system under Title V?
No, there's a treatment plant at the school,
Okay.
and we've got this comprehensive permit.
The library has its own septic system, doesn't it?
Nope, it's all tied to the
Right.
school. Yep. That leach field at this library is what services the school and the treatment plant and the library.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I think the whole
No kidding.
wastewater is a kind of a sticky wicket. It gets people concerned. I'm thinking more about drinking water.
It may get people concerned, but this is our comment. Whether they incorporate it or not, this is our comment.
Right.
And I sort of like Brian's idea. Maybe we should say water, wastewater, and stormwater infrastructure.
Because all of that's going to be there. We never know when we're going to have to do something as a town to mitigate flooding or something else that's on private property or affected by private property onto town property.
Why don't you insert those words there, Brian? We'll see how they like it. Water, wastewater, and stormwater.
Yeah. Put it in. I mean, it can't hurt if the planning board wants to deal with it. But
very first sentence: now, water, wastewater, and stormwater infrastructure uses.
Well, but we've got this. We already had water and wastewater in the second sentence.
Well, you don't need it if you put it right at the beginning. But well, let's see. You can put that as an example, what it includes. Okay. You can say that these uses are essential for public health and safety. Yeah, I think that's good. Now, we got governmental word creeping in here. Do we need to have the governmental word in this at all?
No.
Guys are going to have to ask
it's not for us to define.
Continue on, but I got a low battery situation and I'm kind of in the middle of a family meeting here. So,
You didn't bring your charger with you?
No, I didn't. I was not planning on it being this extensive.
So do we want to just strike the reference to governmental use?
Yes.
Let the planning board figure out whether this should be put under the governmental use heading if they're going to have one. They may rearrange this whole part of the zoning bylaw for all I know.
Well, the reason I put it the way I did was, I mean, I wanted to, and I gave these examples because I want to point out that it could include the town, it could include a regional district, and it could include Littleton and Acton departments. So I think that's kind of essential.
I'm fine with that. Let's go back to.
We're concerned about municipal uses. Somebody could take that to mean the town of Boxborough only. But we've already got a regional school district. We've got an electric light department and 2 water departments already operating in town. So somehow we need to point that out, I think.
We need to remind them that those occur.
Right.
We could make a statement that that's true without telling them that government should be defined in a particular way,
Yeah, I would take the, what, if you, yeah, if you want to get the, the other municipalities in there, the logical place, mine is at the end, okay? Where you're saying definition should cover facilities owned or operated by the town or located on town land within the town and owned or operated by, such as a municipal utility serving Boxborough. Examples are Littleton Light, Littleton Water, Acton Water, okay? And you actually have a couple of houses way down, okay, that are serviced by Stowe. But let's not go there.
Okay,
That
but
way,
right now,
you
So
just
I put
introduced
that
the,
example at the end of the paragraph here, John. Is this what you're talking about?
yes, I think that makes sense because you've just mentioned the word municipal utility. Now you're explaining what it is, okay? I would take everything on the top, yeah, everything from the word uses up. The word uses, leave, and then everything else, get it out. It's just too confusing. It's not for us to define.
governmental uses, it's lost its reference in the first paragraph. So just get rid of governmental.
What about this sentence here?
No, just take,
We understand that governmental use is included in the use schedule, but is not well defined.
maybe we can say that we understand it's there.
That's a true
It should
statement, but
be
it doesn't
more
really,
clearly defined.
but it doesn't really matter
just
one way or the other, does it? Because
But if you just leave it and say,
we're not asserting that
understand-
this needs to be included under a governmental use category.
Oh my God.
So now if we strike this sentence,
Sorry, guys, I'm out of juice.
all right, we still have a quorum without Brian.
Brian, you
All right.
you want to dial in?
I don't have any power. The phone's dead.
No, you could dial in an old-fashioned landline.
I know, but I'm not in my house. I'm in somebody else's.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
hate to tell you, I don't have an old-fashioned landline in my
Yeah.
house.
Alrighty, guys. Sorry about that.
Okay, well, thanks.
All right, Brian,
Take
thanks.
care.
Take
Good
care.
luck.
Take care, Brian. So John, if this sentence in red gets taken out,
Yeah, I think so.
and so we
And the
understand
second
that
sentence
governmental
doesn't
use,
need to be there, right? We're not getting wrapped up in governmental use.
right, so we'll take out the sentence in red.
And then the one following it is
Yeah,
no,
I'd take that one out and then the next sentence. And the first sentence, the first word in that paragraph should be uses.
I disagree because I think we need to, I mean, we understand that governmental use is included in the use schedule, but is not well defined. That's the essential problem here, right?
Okay, so Brian, what you could say is, instead of having it there, what I would do is, if you're concerned about the verbiage on the governmental usage, you have that other comment down the bottom that says many towns in Massachusetts allow governmental uses by right in all zoning districts. Okay, you might say currently governmental uses in our
include
zoning bylaw need to be more clearly defined. Period.
I disagree because our use table includes governmental use.
it does
I
today.
understand
It's
that
not
the issue
clearly-
is that that's not well defined.
That's what I was saying. Okay, I mean, don't confuse the governmental use issue with our uses. Okay, so we're talking about the water resource, what we need for health and safety. We're giving examples, the uses that need to happen, okay? And we want that should be clear, okay? And it is clear. And we don't want them thinking about governmental use right now. We want them to think about water resource uses, water resource needs. And that what we have, if government piece out of there, we have it. And then
No, I think
the next
John's on
paragraph talks about,
I think John's on the right track. Getting wrapped up in governmental use and how that's going to be defined is just a red herring for us.
because what's going to happen, I mean, I've been on a served on the planning board for years. Someone's going to pick on the governmental use statement, and they're going to spend all the time talking about that, as opposed to what we want them to understand is our uses. Okay, and then later on talk about the concern that we have that, you know, a simple statement that we understand governmental uses are are currently in our use tables, but they need to be more clearly defined. Okay, and that's what everyone is telling them, and we're just reinforcing that statement.
All right, so I'm
What if
losing
that first sentence started off something like water infrastructure uses should be defined to include local, municipal, regional, municipal, state, and federal government use?
I think that's asking the planning board to create a definition that they may not want to create.
Yeah.
I think it should be kept more general by just saying uses.
Yeah, okay. Well, uses should be defined to include. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
I mean, I would take what's in red out, because the first paragraph we're talking all about water resources, and then we're explaining what we believe, what some of the uses are that we need to enable their creation, their establishment in town. Okay, and that's the crux of what we want from them. Okay, another thing that concerns us is the fact that the current definition of government uses is confusing. Okay, and that's what's really caused all their issues.
It's non-existent at this point. It's not in the current zone.
Right. I mean, you know, I think by pointing them, I like the idea that where you have, Brian, we have many towns in Massachusetts allow governmental uses by right in all zoning districts. I mean, that if I was on a planning board, what I'd be doing is then I'd be doing my research to see, well, what do other towns say? And how do they handle it? Okay, they allow it. Okay, but do they allow it by right? Do they allow it by special permit? Let's see what they do. Then maybe we can learn from that and use that. Okay, that's where I would go.
What do we do with this sentence here then?
I never want to create the wheels.
This is our problem. This is the problem statement. So what do we do with this sentence?
I would say I go so far as to say it's not just not well defined; it's just not defined. Period.
Just poorly defined.
There are other parts of there are other parts. Okay, so I don't know about whether it's well defined or not well defined or undefined. All that matters is we're asking for them to include in the definition the uses that we're identifying in the next sentence, right?
Which definition?
We're saying that we would like uses to include buildings, other infrastructure, da da da. That's all we're asking.
Are you talking
rather
about
rather than offering a criticism of what's in the zoning bylaw, we could simply say, let them decide where uses are going to go. There's a difference between governmental, municipal, utilities. I mean, there's different definitions that conflict with each other that could impinge on what we're trying to offer here. But I don't think we should be telling them that they have to define governmental uses. We should just say we would like these uses to be allowed. And they have to figure out with attorneys how it's allowed within the zoning bylaw.
Okay, so we're going to strike the first sentence, but where does this second sentence go?
And why not just get rid of them both?
What
Mm,
would you say,
This
Les?
is,
Get rid of both of
this
them.
is the problem.
And trying to
this is,
reference it back to
this is
governmental
the
use
pro-
case
this
is the
is-
problem.
I would hate, I would, Les, I would agree with you, because if we start, if we're going to have it at all, it should be further down in the document, okay? Because we don't want, that's not our focus, okay? It may be the problem. It may be the problem the town is trying to fix. But what we want to do is we want to make sure whatever zoning you put in place, that water resource infrastructure that we're talking about, water, wastewater, and stormwater infrastructure are allowed,
Right,
period.
right.
That's what we want, okay? You know, pointing out that, you know, your government definition is poor, what does that do for us as a committee? I mean, as individuals, if we want to tell them that, fine, but
we're not saying it's poor. It's our understanding. It's our understanding that people have found problems. That definition has a problem.
I would just finesse it by forgetting it. Don't go there. I think John's on the right track.
It's the
I wouldn't-
only reason we're providing comments is because of this issue. We've got that issue's got to be in there somewhere.
but Brian, is that the question that we were asked? I think we were asked, you know, we're going to create it. They're going to create some zoning article for municipal purposes that's going to allow municipal facilities. What do we want? Okay. I mean, it's up to them to figure out how to define governmental uses. And I think letting them know that other towns have done this is good, because it tells them that we know other towns can do this. Now it's up to you.
Right, but this is this problem statement, and this is the only reason we're providing comments is because of this discrepancy between the use table and the definition.
Well,
Why would we take
that's
that
our
out?
view of what's going on. But remember, we're just being asked to comment on an upcoming hearing on possible revision of the zoning bylaw. Let's start with a clean slate.
Les,
We're
were we
commenting-
asked, just to clarify, you know, there will be hearing, the planning board will be hosting on August 4th. Did someone reach out to you specifically and ask for the Water Resources Committee to comment? Or
Yes.
is it just okay, who was that?
Rich. He said
So
it'd
a
be great
planning
if the
board
water.
member said- okay.
He said it would be great if the Water Resource Committee could have input to this process.
Okay, so
He did not get any details about where in the process or what to focus on.
Mhm.
right. So if you take the stuff that's in red out, then what we're doing is we're providing the planning board our input of what we need for the town to protect the town for water, wastewater, and stormwater. That's our charter. Okay, that's it. In terms of their problem with how the government, how they define governmental use, that's a level up from us that they have to deal with. So we're providing the input that Rich asked for. Okay, we don't know. I mean, it would be another thing if they had said, "Look, here's our proposed draft zoning article. What do you have to say about it?" And hopefully that will come to us. Okay, but right now we're giving them input. When you're creating that zoning article, we want to make sure that water resources, water, wastewater, and stormwater are taken care of.
Yeah.
Right, but we're doing it with this understanding that the government use is in the zoning bylaw, but it's not well defined. We're not asking that these municipal water infrastructure use be added to the zoning bylaw. Governmental use is already in the zoning bylaw, in the use table. But the issue that everybody has raised, including town council, is that the definition has problems. That's our understanding of the situation that we're commenting.
But they're not asking for us to define governmental use.
And it's,
They're asking for the water resource.
we're going to take
input.
out the first sentence. We're going to take out this first sentence.
Or you could change that to be that water, wastewater, and stormwater infrastructure uses should be defined to include local, municipal, regional, municipal, state, and federal governments, if you want.
No, because that's asking them to create another definition. You're asking them to create the definition called water resources uses. And I don't think that's what we want them to do.
Well, we'll start off by saying that we recommend water, wastewater, and stormwater infrastructure uses be allowed by right in all zoning districts.
Yep.
I mean, you can just eliminate that next sentence because those uses would be whoever wants to do the using, the local, regional, or state.
Well, this sentence is going to go away right here. Not that I agree with it, but that seems to be where everybody is.
And which one are you highlighting? The first red one or the second red one?
This one in green goes away.
I can't see.
I don't have the
I can't see it. I can't
Okay,
see. I can't see any green.
Okay, so Les, he's taken away the government. It goes from governmental to governments. Well, he has it right there. It's in gray right now.
Use a yellow highlighter. It's much easier to see.
Well, I just found the strikeout key.
Okay, you're going to strike that. Okay.
This thing's going away.
Now, the second sentence is a true statement on its own. It just says that we understand that governmental uses is included in the use schedule in the zoning bylaw, but it's not all done. True statement. We're not saying it needs to be addressed. It's just a statement. It stands alone. Then I would start the next sentence by saying, water, wastewater, and stormwater infrastructure uses should be defined to include everything that's already up there.
Yeah.
But again, that's asking them to create a new use definition. And I don't know that we want to do that.
Well, that question applies to everything here. What's a wastewater use? What's a stormwater use?
What I'm saying is uses should be defined to include buildings and other infrastructure. And then we give some examples. But the key here is that uses means buildings and other infrastructure.
So Brian, what we can do is take
I see what
red.
you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
You're
focusing on the word use as opposed to water. Okay.
Right. And I think that's good. Okay. And what I would do then, Brian, is take that sentence that's in red and say, I would put it at the top of the next paragraph. Okay. That says, we understand that governmental use is included in the use schedule in the zoning bylaw, but is not well defined or is not well defined. And then many towns have done this. Okay, allow governmental uses by right in all zoning districts.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
I think that works.
Okay, and then then municipal projects receive sufficient review and special permits or other such approvals as are necessary, not unnecessary.
I think that's good.
Okay.
How did
I have
unnecessary
comments on those
get
last.
in?
So I have comments from municipal. I'd like to delete from municipal down to public input. I think a lot of these statements are opinions. I don't know that municipal projects receive sufficient review. If something is allowed by right, it means it can be built by right, and it may not be subject to public review. If the only reason, one reason you might go to town, one reason you might hear about a project is because when you go to town meeting, you're asking for money to build that project. But if that project were small and funded entirely by a grant, you do not need to go to town meeting to get approval to build that small infrastructure project on town-owned land without using public money. So it doesn't always come up at town meeting. It doesn't always get site plan review, and there isn't always opportunity for public input. So I feel like all of that is just opinion and unnecessary to what we're offering here. It doesn't support what the main point of this letter is.
Well, that's why I said generally municipal projects.
Well, when we're saying generally, that just undermines everything I just said, which is often it is not true. And I don't see how it adds value to the letter. And I don't agree with a lot of the statements either.
And I said they're subject to site plan review where applicable.
Not everything is. Right, where applicable, right? So we could sit here and think about 10 projects where it would never get site plan review. So it's not supportive of what we're trying to say. So if we're trying to, I just don't see the value of adding it to the letter.
I think because so many people were concerned about, for instance, a wastewater treatment plant being allowed, and they does address that. Granted, there are going to be small projects that are never going to come up at town meeting, but I don't think that's where the public concern lies. I think the public concern lies with a big municipal treatment plant, wastewater in particular. And that most certainly would have to go to town meeting.
And so
and it would involve site plan review.
Yeah, Brian, you might be making it too complicated. Maybe what you want is municipal projects typically receive sufficient review and special sufficient reviews and special permits or other such approvals as necessary, period. Then I would take the rest out, okay? Because they're also, you're going into too much detail because not all projects will go through all of those things, okay? And not all that, I think what you're making a point here is that you've got to clean up, the planning board has to clean up the definition of governmental use. And then what we're telling them is that other towns have done this, okay? And to me, that's the most important part. I mean, starting to get into the details of projects, people are always going to come up with cases where these things don't happen. And I think you're making your point by letting them know you got to clean it up, and other towns have done it, and that's as far as we need to go.
Well,
because all these other actions in there, Brian, those are owned by the planning board. They know they have to do that.
Review. John, let me finish, please. Let me finish, please. This business about municipal projects receiving review, that was provided to Mark White by another town planner.
Okay.
And I stole it.
All right. And I put the word typically in there.
Planner was responding to Mark White saying, this is why we don't think that special permits should be required under zoning bylaw for municipal projects. And I want to kick that back to the planning board. They will have seen this argument before, and I want to reinforce it with them.
My concern, Brian, is that you're throwing something in there that is going to cause discussion amongst the planning board members and take away the focus of what we've put together above.
Right, but it's something they've already seen from another
But-
town.
Well, that's
So
fine.
if they've seen it already, then they don't need to see it from us.
Right, right. And I think Janet's saying it's not even true in all cases. Is that right, Janet? Is that what your point was?
Right, it's not true in all cases, and I'm not sure why we're offering it as a, like, so just following this paragraph, it's like, why would we offer that? We're saying governmental use is included but not well defined. Many towns have allowed this. And if I don't believe all of these statements to be true for Boxborough, so I don't know how it helps support the previous two sentences. I just don't see how it's connected.
I think, Brian, having people from here, from our committee, possibly going to their meetings and trying to address this with them in, as they go through their discussion. Okay, you're only going to be given 2 minutes, but it might help there. Okay, but I just think we want to keep the focus on what we've put in the beginning of this.
So we have the opening statement, which seems pretty clear and a strong statement. Then we jump right to what uses should include all the things in that paragraph right there, which have some examples. And then the next thing we have is a comment about the existing use schedule around government use being not well defined, pointing out that many towns in Massachusetts allow a government use by right in all zoning districts. And then we just stop. It just says, well, we have an undefined statement, but many towns use that same statement, and it's up to the planning board to resolve that.
I would maybe.
It is up to them to resolve it.
Yeah, so these last two sentences are really just our sort of invitation or suggestion to the planning board that other towns do this.
Right.
Go figure it out, basically.
That's basically it, Les.
So on that same idea, going back to the first sentence, when we talk about we want certain uses to be accounted for, do we have to tell them that? So it's one thing to say, please define uses to include water infrastructure. It is a little bit different to then say, allow those uses by right in all zoning districts. So I'm just asking if the committee thinks that we need to be recommending to the planning board that they be allowed by right in all zoning districts. We want them to define the uses and be cognizant of the fact that there's a lot of things that go into water infrastructure that isn't just, a well, right? And we're listing those out here to just educate everyone. Or they may be very aware of it. I'm just saying in general as a public document. And then to give examples so people know, hey, we already have lots of water infrastructure in this town. And different municipalities are operating them. So we're bringing to light something that may not be fully understood. But do we need to be telling them that we have to have these uses be allowed by right in all zoning districts?
I think I think that's going to be a problem. Okay. I think that's going to be a problem because that was the problem with the zoning article that they had. That was written by the select board. Okay. It was written in haste by the select board. Okay. And I think, when people start to see that they'll go, a wastewater treatment plant can be put in my neighborhood and it's a residential neighborhood, they're not going to want to approve it. I mean, the planning board has to come up with zoning that they can get passed by a 2/3 vote at town meeting. And whenever you say that something has to be done, has to be allowed everywhere, you'll get a lot of people that want to say no.
That's why somewhere along this line earlier, when I was talking with Brian, I had thought, take out the wastewater as a special case and say everything is true about drinking water. Wastewater, it requires a special permit.
And I think it does. It should.
Because it's so loaded,
So disruptive. And I mean, when people think about a wastewater treatment plant, I mean, they're thinking of a huge treatment plant and a smelly thing. Okay, let's be honest with you, everybody. And they're not going to want that in their neighborhood. Nobody would want it in their neighborhood.
So imagine we're in a situation where the state orders us to build a wastewater treatment plant, and we find 2 sites in town where that's going to be feasible. Do we want zoning to stop us? No. We want the right to do that under the zoning bylaw, because this thing is going to be reviewed in so many other ways, but to have zoning be an impediment to something where we maybe only have a couple of sites where it's even feasible, I think we're cutting our throat.
I still like the idea of carving off drinking water as one case and wastewater as a different case.
If the planning board doesn't like wastewater, they can take it out. This committee, and I'm speaking for myself, wants water, wastewater, and stormwater to be allowed.
Well, I mean, I can't vote for Brian, I have to disagree. Okay, I have to disagree because it's too invasive for people, and the public is saying, wait a minute, you're cramming something down my throat, and it may never happen. It may not happen in our lifetimes. It may not happen for 100 years, and it may be, but by that time, the way wastewater is treated may be completely different and not so intrusive. Okay, but until we're there, I think if people say, well, yeah, water, I need water, storm water, that needs to be taken care of, but wastewater is a big red flag. Okay, and people will say, well, it's not going to happen for 50 years or whatever. And by saying that it has to happen now, I think it's going to be a showstopper.
And let the planning board take it out.
Well, I mean, I don't think we should. I think we should propose it as a special permit, as opposed to has to be done by right. I couldn't. I can't vote for that.
I think wastewater as a special permit makes a lot of sense to me. First of all, it diffuses what we know would be, a heated issue, And if the case that Brian offered, where the state might require us to put a plant somewhere, well, that's a perfect setup for a special permit. If you could actually find the site, then go through a special permit process.
Right.
And what if you don't get the permit?
Well, the town will have to step up and do the right thing, We're talking about ourselves here. Although the special permitting authority hasn't been defined, nor do we need to define it here, I don't think, do we? I hope not.
No.
Well, I'm not going to vote for this if wastewater is taken out. Let's vote on it.
What's at
Few other
the bottom?
comments.
Good.
Do we want to vote on just that one sentence, or we want to finish our comments?
There's stuff below here that it's disappeared. What is it?
Is this what you're talking about?
Scroll down. What? Okay. Oh, that's the end of it. Okay.
I threw in this other comment that you had provided to me, Les, but this doesn't need to be in here, I don't think.
I was just trying to call out the case where you might get a weird situation where a privately owned water system or wastewater treatment plant could be located in Boxborough, but providing service to another town. We don't want to allow that. That is not envisioned by what we're trying to say here.
No.
I don't know whether it's worth pointing out or saying anything about that.
What is the case you're talking about, Les? That we would.
Let's say,
privately
well,
owned. Oh, privately owned. Okay.
This was to differentiate between a privately operated public water system or wastewater treatment plant located within Boxborough, which according to the way it was first written, but delivering service to people in an adjoining town, which is not what we want to do.
We
Now
don't want to do that. Okay.
That case might actually be prohibited by general law, which I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's law against that. But this would make it obviously not allowed. I mean, let's say a big developer gets a chunk of land in Stowe and also some land in Boxborough, and they can't find where to put the treatment plant in Stowe. They put it in Boxborough and run the pipe.
I see. Oh, okay. Got it now. Right. So that made me think, that comment though made me think about the first sentence, which is, can you scroll up, Brian, to that first sentence so we can see it again?
This right here is going to need to change.
Right. And it could be water related uses or something. I would call it water related uses maybe instead of government, or water supply uses, or something. What do we
say? And water.
No, it's about uses though. It's not about
water related.
And is this in this first sentence? Yeah, I was just thinking about this. We're not being specific about municipal water, wastewater, and stormwater infrastructure uses. We're just saying it could be private, it could be public, by the way we've written this first sentence. And I'm just asking if that's intentional.
That was the source of my comment at the end. That's what provoked it.
Right. Because
that's why
right now, I mean, everyone who has a well, everyone has a well and a septic system in their yard. They already have those things, right? And someone comes along and builds a new house and a new septic system with the well. We already have, that's already allowed by our current laws. Like, we're already allowed to do that. And it's the Board of Health who gives you those permits, right? So I'm wondering, I don't want to use the word government though. So,
Municipal.
yeah, it's about, right. What do we mean by governmental? Right. This is why it's hairy. I'm not
Don't
suggesting
use-
we ask, yeah, what are we really trying to say here? Are we talking about the authority of the town of Boxborough to build these items? Or are we talking about public and private? Because, you know, if there could be a public water supply well being public only because it serves more than 25 people, but it's under the direction of a private entity.
And
That's
there's
why
plenty of there's plenty of those around.
nobody likes. That's why this sentence was in here, but nobody likes that.
Well, we just don't want to be telling the planning board.
You can't say municipal because it's more than municipal. It could be a regional. It could be the state and it could be the federal government. This isn't just about municipal.
Well, there's a middle sentence here in the next paragraph. The definition should cover facilities owned or operated by the town or located on land within the town and owned or operated by others as a municipal utility serving Boxborough for the benefit of Boxborough residents.
Well, I wanted to go back to that sentence. John, when you were reading the sentence out, I don't know if you noticed it, but when you were reading it, you said a couple of times, the definition should cover facilities owned or operated by the town or located on town land. So located on town land or on land within the town could mean two different things. Did you intend to mean town owned land, municipal operated land? Not private land? Because land within the town, we wouldn't have, the zoning bylaw applies to all land within the town. That's how it only goes to the borders of the town of Boxborough. So I heard you read, on town land. So what do we mean by, I know you didn't write this phrase, but what do we mean by or located on land within the town?
Well, think of two cases. What about, and this has been attempted in Stone and didn't work very well, but a private water company wants to set up business and sell water to customers. They own the land, they own the well, they own the distribution, but they ended up with no customers. That would be a non-town owned infrastructure.
Which we're saying it should be included in the uses.
Well, no, I like the idea of keeping this focused on I'll call it municipal use, a town owned and operated by the town. Now, operated by the town could mean we contract someone to do it, but it's our authority.
That's going to be confusing to people.
Yeah, I mean, look at how complicated this could get if we start regionalizing, working with Littleton and Acton.
If you took the words "or located on land within the town" out, does that help? Facilities owned or operated by the town and/or owned or operated by others as municipal utilities serving Boxborough. So you take that piece out because it is confusing. And quite frankly, the town doesn't own a lot of land.
Yeah, no, it is confusing. I think that came from me, and I was envisioning the private water company scenario.
Well, an example of this would be the Mass Ave. That's land that's state owned. It's not owned by the town, but it's within the town. So if right now we have a crossing of Mass Ave. What if we wanted to construct a water main from Acton to the school within Mass Ave? We want that to be by right.
Well, if it's in DOT right away, we don't have much right at all, right?
That's right. We have to get permission.
Right, but we don't want it to require a special permit under the zoning bylaw.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? Oh, because could get turned down?
Yeah,
I mean, I go back to where I mean, Rich basically asked us for input, okay? And I think we're giving them input by talking about, make sure you consider the water needs of the town, the need of the town to build infrastructure for water, wastewater, and stormwater. That's what we're talking about here, okay? If we start to get down into the weeds about whether a special permit's required or this or that, we're getting too far down without seeing where the planning board is with anything right now.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think you're right, John. We're getting way deep.
They're just saying we're telling the planning board, hey, remember us, and here's why. Okay. Whether they use any of these words is highly unlikely. Okay. But at least we're telling them, remember us. That's what we're trying to get to.
The town needs to have the right to develop water resources and deliver water to people in town who need it.
That's it.
That could include drilling a well, or it could include buying water from Littleton or Acton and making all kinds of special arrangements that are very complicated.
well, I agree, John, but I use special permit only because the planning board has suggested that that might be one way they address this. And we do not mention special permit anywhere in this document now that we've taken it out.
So Brian, special permits are important, and I think that's when you get into the operational state of the document. Okay, right now everyone is at such a higher level. Okay, that we want to say, look, remember us at the higher level, and then when we start to look at how do you operationalize it, that's when you start to determine, okay, does this get operationalized via a special permit, via additional changes, by additional restrictions? That's when it gets much more detailed. And I don't think the planning board's there.
We're not mentioning special permits. Nowhere in this document do we say special permit.
By the way, let me ask a dumb question here. When you're saying it's allowed by right, that doesn't necessarily mean that a special permit would not be required or might not be required, right?
No, if it's by right, it's by right.
Well, if it meets the requirements, right? I mean, the site plan review could be required on by right activities if it meets threshold triggers, right?
Absolutely.
I'm just trying to go back to the wastewater thing, which seems like
Let's be clear. So, I mean, you know this, John. Site plan review is not a yes or no. It's not an approval. It's just shaping the project.
It's site plan review is a review, and then when you finally get to a final decision, it's a decision with a whole set of conditions.
Right.
Okay.
So it's not as if you're going to stop something in its tracks with site plan review. You're just going to say, well, we think it'd be better that you stay within the confines of other bylaws in the town. And could you, like I say, shape the project? But it doesn't have to stop anything. Yeah.
It's like in residential, you have the right to build a house. However, it has to meet all sorts of dimensional requirements, setbacks, and yada, 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 right?
Right.
It's a right, but it has encumbrances on it.
And if you don't like that, you go for a variance.
Well, I'm just going back to
So
the
that would be the
wastewater thing.
ZBA.
Well,
Right.
we're getting way into the details here. I mean,
So are
we're
we
getting,
keeping governmental in the first sentence?
Well,
I just asked the question.
well, I put that in there because are we talking solely about municipal?
isn't that all we control, Brian? We only control municipal. We don't control the state or the federal
anything.
government.
We don't control anything. We are not a regulatory board. We're making recommendations for how the town handles this stuff.
Right, but what I'm saying is, I don't think we want the word governmental in there.
Yeah, municipal
I
seems to
think
be.
it creates so much more confusion, and people are going to read that one word and they're not going to read the rest.
Should we say municipal or just not say either?
I would just leave it out at this point. I mean, we're talking about, this is conceptually at a high level. It's input to the planning board to say, hey, these are the things that are important to the Water Resources Committee because they're important for us to be able to provide water, wastewater, and manage stormwater.
I don't want this to be limited to municipal. It could be broader than that. It may have to be broader than that.
What are you thinking about in terms of broader than municipal?
MWRA.
Pardon?
MWRA. What if MWRA brings water to Boxborough?
Well, but they would still have to hook up to a system that's town owned, right? That would be the municipal piece.
But it could involve state infrastructure in the town.
Pardon?
It could involve state infrastructure in the town.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know who owns that or how that's done. Really don't know. Well, this says just water, wastewater, and stormwater. So that could be municipal or big government.
Mm-hmm.
So we do say municipal utility in the next paragraph. The way this is written, do we actually mean a utility serving the municipality? Is that what was intended? It says owned or operated by others as a municipal utility serving Boxborough. So
I intended that to be like Littleton as a municipal utility serving Boxborough.
right, but it could be read as the town of Boxborough serving the town of Boxborough.
Right.
That would be owned or operated by the town.
We give examples down below, okay? It includes Town of Boxborough, a regional school, Littleton Electric, Littleton Water, okay? The examples are there. It's not meant to be all inclusive.
I'm just mentioning it because I think municipal was also the word municipal and was also debated by the planning board. And so there's a little bit of sensitivity around that, only because, like I said, people haven't figured it out yet. That's all. We don't really know exactly what this means. So that's why I mentioned it. And owned or operated by others as a utility serving Boxborough.
Well, for that matter, the word utility is problematic because
that's true.
The zoning bylaw has its own definition of utility.
That's right. It's only DPU regulated utilities, and water is not a DPU. And in fact, the Littleton Water Department and Electric Light Department is also not DPU regulated. So those aren't even utilities that are serving Boxborough. They are providing a service, but they're just not utilities.
As defined by the zoning bylaw, they are not
Right.
utilities.
That's right.
So that word is kind of a problem.
I don't know
Yep.
whether Littleton Water, bringing water to Boxborough is considered a municipal utility of some.
No, you could just say as a water supplier serving Boxborough.
About
Just say exactly
facility.
what they're doing as a water supplier. That's all they're doing.
And the municipal water supply or facility. Someone else owns it and operates it, but it's a municipal facility and then it serves us.
Yeah.
Again, it doesn't preclude someone doing this as a
I'm
private
getting
water
uncomfortable
company if they
with the
wanted
word
to.
Hmm.
I'm getting uncomfortable with both the word municipal and the word facility. Excuse me. And the word utility.
Yep.
So how about by others to serve Boxborough? I'm also uncomfortable with the word residents because we're going to be serving more than
Yep.
just residents.
Businesses. I think we need to say businesses, and I mean, there's other people. You could be a student and not live in Boxborough and get the
You know,
benefit.
just say Boxborough properties.
Hmm.
Operated by others. Why don't we just make that shorter and say land within the town, comma, and owned or operated by others to serve Boxborough properties. Get rid of the whole benefit of.
Those were your words, Les.
I know, we'll
You
take them
provided
all.
that
There's too
comment.
many words, right?
So when we say in the second sentence, the definition should cover facilities, I think we should say water-related facilities.
I don't see any harm in that.
Isn't that kind of implied by everything that we've said?
I'm just afraid people are going to parse these sentences out and not understand our actual intent. I'm trying to stay within, our obligations as a WRC. This isn't a change, but I'm just trying to understand this example. What's the regional school district example?
It's an example of property that isn't owned by Boxborough.
Okay. But we supply water, the Hazen well, is that?
Yes, there's an agreement between
I mean,
the
are
town.
there water-related infrastructure that is being operated by the regional school district? in
It's-
Boxborough.
It's operated by us, but we do cost sharing between us and the district under an agreement.
Okay.
And as we learned tonight, we also provide the leaching field for wastewater.
Okay. Got it.
I wasn't aware of that.
So my only sticking point now is that we're saying uses be allowed by right in all zoning districts. If that's what we're gonna say, then we could have a vote. I'm trying to separate defining uses from telling the planning board that there has to be in all zoning districts. I get why that makes sense logically. I understand where you want to run pipes, where you're going to run pipe and deliver water, etc. But by right in all zoning districts could be hard for some people to accept as an idea. I also think. Oh, go ahead, John.
No, I just think I think if that's the very first sentence, people will stop there. They won't read the rest because they'll say that's not going to happen because that's what's got us into trouble before.
About the wastewater, you mean?
Yeah, I think especially the wastewater. I think if we ask for water and stormwater by right, I think that could pass. That may still be open for debate. But as soon as you throw in wastewater, it just raises so many red flags that people are gonna say, well, no, we're not going to allow that, and they won't even read the rest.
And the planning board could take that out.
Why are we putting it? Why do we want to do that, Brian?
It's my preference that we not tie our hands to water, wastewater, and stormwater infrastructure. I don't want to tie our hands by having a zoning requirement that makes those possibly not passing. I want as broad an authority as possible with regard to water-related infrastructure.
Okay,
if the planning board wants to scale it back to get it through town meeting, that's their business.
Well, I'm more concerned about having us with a split vote on our recommendation. That sounds like we don't have our act together.
I think, Brian, my concern is I mean, I wasn't at town meeting because we were out of town, but I mean, it was the idea that something would be allowed anywhere in town was the real major issue. And now a water resource committee is saying we want something allowed anywhere in town. And I read this and the planning board, they're going to say, well, the water resource committee isn't listening. That's my concern.
Well, look at what happened. We had how many possible fire station sites in town do we have?
It's
And
not,
we couldn't
Brian,
pass it
Brian,
because of
that
this
Article
issue.
1, I told they could have pulled Article 1 and still gone forward with the fire station. It could still have gone forward. And then the planning board could have come up with zoning later, as opposed to putting that to a vote on town meeting floor. They still could have done that. So that Article 1 was not really, it was about the zoning article. And everyone's tying it to the fire station. It was a zoning article, period. It was a zoning article to try to fix something. And unfortunately, the planning board they should have rejected it and told the select board, we don't think we should take this forward, but they didn't.
But opponents to the fire station used it as ammunition.
No, let's stop the word ammunition, please.
All right.
Well, I do think
Vote
that
on this as written, and if it doesn't pass our committee, we can change it and vote again. I have a feeling the committee will approve this if the word wastewater is taken out of there.
it'd be nice to have a unanimous vote on what we're going to recommend for the planning board to consideration.
It's not going to be unanimous.
I'm not comfortable voting it with wastewater in there. Yes, it's more permissive, but it's also a target painted on our backs.
What do we say? Water and stormwater? Would you say just water and stormwater?
Yeah, I gotta say, I would divide the baby. Water and stormwater allowed by right. New sentence. Wastewater by special permit.
I don't think we ought to be recommending that special permit is the way to do something that isn't by right. That's up to the.
Well, what if we just don't speak to it? Then what happens?
How would you do that?
We don't include it. Then people say, well, what about wastewater? I say, yeah, what about it? It's not covered in the bylaw.
I think we should cast our net as broadly as possible and let the planning board take it out if they don't want it.
So what's our total membership number now? 10 or 11 or 9?
Oh, on the Water Resources Committee?
Yeah.
What is it? No, well, Cindy gets appointed next week. What we have now? Is it 9? Have to add it up quickly. 1, 2, 3.
We have 9
5,
positions.
6, 7. It'll be 7, right? But I think I got everybody. I lost my little crib note.
Okay. We have 9 positions. Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Brian and incoming Cindy would be 7. So our quorum rule doesn't change. Okay, so it's
And
half
a
plus
select board
1.
designee.
Pardon?
Oh, you're saying we have 7 current members?
Once Cindy gets sworn in.
So
Right,
who's the person
right now we have
who's the
6.
person that
Pardon?
who's the person that's just dialed in? I'm just
And that's
curious.
John Markowitz. He's not a voting member.
No, it's not John Markowitz.
That's right. John Nyland. Sorry, John.
Okay. Okay, so he's not voting. Okay.
Right. No, John's a non-voting member. Which is a whole other strange construct about the charter. Why should we have non-voting members? But we can talk about that later. It seemed like it was a good idea at the time, and it hasn't hurt. So, but I'm concerned about the wastewater thing sort of derailing our effort here. we have water infrastructure in town right now. We have a collection of public wells. We have water coming in from Littleton. Right now, we have nothing that looks like an emerging need for a wastewater infrastructure. And to make that prominent in this way just seems to be self-defeating. I'd rather think about it later.
I mean, that's what I think. I mean,
One thing to consider here is that, Weston and Sampson is working on a report for us, and they're going to be making recommendations. We don't know entirely what the scope or nature of the detail, I should say, of those recommendations is going to be. But this won't be the last time zoning bylaw changes will be made to facilitate growth of the town. 20 years from now, or if there was there's going to be no short-term recommendation from Weston and Sampson that says, put your wastewater treatment plant here, because we don't have a municipal sewer system. Oh, and we don't have a municipal water system. So this is all very far off in the future. And while it's excellent to be planning now and anticipating that, there's going to have to be some kind of zoning bylaw change sometime in the future to allow for some water-related infrastructure that we haven't anticipated yet, or we haven't created the need for because we don't have the growth or whatever's happening within the town. But I don't think it's the last bite of the apple. And I don't think this will be, so I don't think we have to put we don't have to put it all here now. If we want to acknowledge we don't know what to do about wastewater, or we're anticipating a recommendation, but we haven't received it yet, then we shouldn't be making recommendations, I think without input from our very knowledgeable consultants, right? They know what other towns do. They know how they get those Littleton, for example, they know how they get water infrastructure built. But we don't have the benefit of that information yet while we're trying to write this letter.
Yeah,
you could take wastewater out, and you could say the Water Resource Committee currently recommends that. Okay, so currently this is what we're recommending. Okay, and if they ask the question about wastewater, we can simply say, well, we're waiting for the final study from Weston and Sampson, and we may find that it's so far out that there'll be other changes. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point, I worked at the school and I'm watching the flooding that's occurring, or the beaver dams that have been built behind the school that's raising the water level that may impact the school in a not too distant future. And we're starting to see some impacts at the DPW, the old DPW. We may be asked to do something. We may need to recommend something for that in the future. And that's tied to stormwater.
Yeah,
but I think if we simply said we currently recommend and we leave the wastewater out, you could do it that way.
You could also have another statement in there saying the committee recommends that wastewater be treated in another edition of the zoning bylaw when our study is complete and we're in a better position to make a recommendation. Let them know we're not blowing it off, but aren't ready yet.
Yeah.
But to Brian's point, there's some large chapter lands in town that could come on the market, and you never know what could happen. Somebody might want to develop a complex that would argue strongly for a localized wastewater treatment plant servicing some number of houses, because it just treats the effluent better for the environment. So is that precluding it under current zoning?
That could be done privately.
That could be done privately, right?
But depending upon the way it's structured, it may be required by the Board of Health.
Board of Health can require it, and they have a lot of authority.
That's right.
Well, I think if we had to if we had to build a municipal wastewater facility, that's the wrong time to go looking for zoning amendment.
Wrong time to do what,
That's
Brian?
why I want wastewater. If we had to build a municipal wastewater facility, that's the wrong time to go seek a zoning amendment to add wastewater in. The time to do it is now.
Brian, I
There's
think it's
no
so far
wastewater
away.
treatment plant that's going to be built in a 1 year time span, right? I mean, the reality of a project like that is probably a 5 to 10 year horizon. So you'll see it coming.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm just concerned if you keep it in there and say it's by right, everything else we've done tonight will be for naught.
Yeah, I am concerned about that.
All right, so I just crossed out wastewater.
But I do think we ought to have a statement in there about the fact that wastewater ought to be treated in a, I won't say next version of the zoning bylaw. Wastewater needs to be addressed in a future version of the zoning bylaw. When more is known about the possibilities or constraints or something.
I think maybe wastewater will be dealt with, once I think we'd probably look at another study for when we think we might need to deal with wastewater.
Yeah, that could well be a recommendation coming out of the Western and Sansa where we don't know yet.
Right.
In fact, a follow-on piece of work could be to have Western and Sampson look at a, package treatment plant for a small development. What would it look like? Yada, yada, yada.
I would just say,
what if the housing board wanted to build housing on?
Pardon?
The Stowe Road site. What if the housing board wanted to build housing on the Stowe Road site, and they had to have a wastewater treatment plant?
And that would probably be dictated by the Board of Health.
Well,
depending upon the number of units.
When the Stowe Road site, when the housing board bought that and did a conceptual design there, GPR did it. As I recall, it had about 22 duplexes and just septic systems. Al Murphy studied it quite intensively. He said the limit on density there is nitrogen loading in the soil. Now that could change if you put in a treatment plant, right? That allows you more.
Right.
So I don't know where that ended up. But again, that would be a private development. Should we say, maybe should our recommendation, very first sentence, be talk about municipal water and stormwater infrastructure uses?
We've already been over that.
Pardon?
Let's not revisit that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Brian said we've already been
Guys,
over
I'm
it.
not on patience here. We spent 2 hours on this. This was supposed to be a short meeting. I just took out the word wastewater. I move that we approve this as amended.
I'll second that.
Yeah, I'll read it clearly now. You can't make that go away, I guess. Let's see. So, Water Resource Committee recommends that water and stormwater infrastructure use be allowed by right in all zoning districts. These uses are essential for public health and safety. Uses should be defined to include buildings and other infrastructure such as water mains, pump stations, treatment plants, generators, and power lines. These definitions should cover water-related facilities owned or operated by the town or located on land within the town and owned or operated by others to serve Boxborough properties. Examples include the town of Boxborough, a regional school district, Littleton Electric Light Department, Littleton Water Department, and the Acton Water District. We understand that governmental use is included in the use table in the Boxborough zoning bylaw, but is not well defined. Many towns in Massachusetts allow governmental uses by right in all zoning districts. Period. That's the end of it, right? I mean, but two true statements that just kind of like, okay, here's your mission. That works for me.
Mhm.
We're going to provide this.
Yes, it's been moved
Pardon?
and seconded, Les.
Did we have a motion? O'Brien moved it. Did you second it, John?
I did.
Okay. Any further discussion? Let's take a vote. Janet,
Nay.
John Markowitz,
Aye.
Steve Schmidt,
Aye.
Brian Clements,
Nay.
and Fox votes aye.
Now, Les, let me ask you a question. Are we required to take a vote on this?
Yeah, if we're going to provide it as input of this committee to the zoning, to the planning board.
Can you provide it as
Well, it's been
informal
approved 3-2.
Pardon?
I mean, the reason I'm saying no, I think, is not the same reason that Brian is. It's just those last two sentences in the last paragraph. I don't know why we're saying that, but so, because I know I helped, rewrite a lot of this tonight.
No, I guess I don't.
My
understand
concern is that it's allowed by right in all zoning districts, and I don't know how to solve that, and I don't think we can solve it. I don't think this committee can solve that.
that.
So that's why.
That all the things are, what is allowed by right?
It says in all zoning districts.
Water
And we don't
and
want to
storm-
get into the, right, no, it's not about the wastewater thing at all. I mean, I agree with that deletion, but it's just this idea that we're telling them what should be allowed by right and where. So I'm not sure we can't resolve that tonight. If you're trying to go for unanimous,
I think this is the case of the perfect is going to be the enemy of the good enough.
Yep. Well, I think there's a lot more
Well,
information. It could be, we need to be able to provide support to the planning board, but this is what we can do right now.
Unless they need this by when? Next
The
month?
very end of the month. I want to get it there by the end of next week.
Written comments to do the 31st.
Yeah. So this will be discussed at their hearing on the 4th of August.
When is Cindy going to be officially part of this group?
I believe that she will be appointed at the select board meeting, which is, I think, next Monday. And then she has to get sworn in, which could be almost immediately. But we don't have another scheduled meeting until August 19th. So she won't have a chance to weigh in on this until then. Now, if we have some, I can't think of the word. Should we have a minority report on why this was not supported? Would that be helpful to the planning board?
I'm done. I'm not putting any more effort into this.
Yeah, Brian, can you send me? You did all the corrections. You send me the markup so I can send off a letter to the planning board.
Yep. So it'll be,
Pardon?
I'm just making the changes. So what I'll send you is, I'm showing you what I'll be sending you.
Okay.
Well, the first sentence probably needs to be revised to say a majority of.
This,
Yes, that's correct. or by a vote of whatever, but I think a majority.
Well, I think the fact that it's a majority means that's the committee's position. Doesn't
That's
it?
correct.
So I don't think, I mean,
Now let's stand the way it is then.
Well, no, it,
I'm not revising this one more time.
Sometimes people at town meeting ask for the minority report, and sometimes they don't. Everyone's involved. It's a public meeting at the planning board's hearing, so if you want to go and weigh in on this, you certainly can.
So this version is going to be called final, Les.
Okay, thanks.
This is what I'll send to you.
Okay, thank you. You can send it to everybody.
Mhm. Anything else?
Thanks for all your
Well, I
hard work,
think-
Brian.
All right, I guess a motion to adjourn is pretty appropriate.
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
Okay, I'll take a roll call vote. Brian Clemens,
Aye.
Steve Schmidt,
Aye.
John Markowitz,
Markowitz, aye.
Janet Connolly,
I.
and Fox is aye. Thank you very much. We're adjourned.